The phrase "down in the dumps" is a colloquial American idiom used to describe a person who is feeling sad, disheartened, or in a state of low spirits. While the phrase is not considered formal language, it is widely recognized and used in everyday conversations to express one's emotional state. When someone says they are down in the dumps, it typically signifies a temporary or transient feeling of unhappiness or melancholy, rather than a severe or clinical condition like clinical depression. The origin of the phrase "down in the dumps" is not precisely known, but it likely stems from the idea of being physically low or in a depressed position. Imagine a person sitting in a literal dump or a pit, surrounded by discarded or undesirable things. This imagery aligns with the feeling of emotional desolation or being in a gloomy, unfavorable mental space. People use this expression to describe a variety of situations where they or others are experiencing sadness or emotional distress. It can be triggered by personal problems, disappointments, setbacks, or a general sense of being overwhelmed by life's challenges. Common situations that might make someone feel down in the dumps include the loss of a loved one, a breakup, financial difficulties, or a string of unfortunate events. For example, if someone has recently lost their job and is struggling to find new employment, they might describe themselves as feeling down in the dumps. This phrase effectively communicates their emotional state, indicating that they are not in a good place mentally and are experiencing sadness or despair. The expression "down in the dumps" is often used in a sympathetic or empathetic context. When a friend or loved one notices that someone is feeling low, they might ask, "What's got you down in the dumps?" or offer words of comfort and support to help lift the person's spirits. It's important to note that while "down in the dumps" describes a temporary emotional state, clinical depression is a more severe and prolonged condition that typically requires professional intervention and treatment. Clinical depression involves persistent feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and a loss of interest or pleasure in daily activities. It is essential to differentiate between the common experience of feeling down in the dumps and the clinical diagnosis of depression. In summary, "down in the dumps" is an informal American idiom used to convey feelings of sadness, melancholy, or emotional distress. It employs vivid imagery to describe a person's emotional state, suggesting that they are in a gloomy or undesirable mental space. While this phrase reflects a common human experience of occasional sadness, it should not be confused with clinical depression, which is a more serious and persistent mental health condition.